went to my first German meeting 5 minutes early, and I thought I was being respectful. My manager looked annoyed. Why? Anyway, it was because the meeting was scheduled for 9. And in Germany, 9 means 8:55. In the room, 5 minutes early means you're kind of late. By the standards, I nearly missed it. And by day 3, I had a lot of unlearning to do. If you're Nigerian and you're working in Germany, or you're about to work in Germany, this video is the conversation nobody probably has had with you before you arrived in Germany. I'm Ada. I work in HR in Germany. So let's talk about 8 things you need to unlearn fast. Before the end of this video, you will know the 8 specific Nigerian instincts that work against you in a German workplace, what to do instead, and the one thing about Nigerian culture you should keep because it's actually to your own advantage here. Let's get into the video. If someone tells you I'm on my way or they are on their way, it means anything between 20 minutes away to I'm just leaving the house right now. In Germany, Pünktlich means you're physically in the room with your laptop open 5 minutes before the meeting starts. To Germans, punctuality is the first piece of evidence about whether you are reliable. Being 5 minutes late to a meeting at 9 means you're telling your manager that you might be 10 minutes late to a deadline. But please keep this in mind, it's not set in stone for everybody. So always apply nuance to situations. And for example, there could be public transport delays or a health emergency. And in this case, you just need to inform your manager that you might not make it early to the meeting. The best way to go about things like this is to arrive 5 minutes before any scheduled time for your trains, for meeting the doctor's appointment, for the Bürgeramt appointment, and appointments in general. It helps to treat the scheduled timeline as a deadline and not necessarily a starting point. In Nigeria, saying this might need a small look is a professional shorthand for saying this is wrong and you need to fix it, right? For Germans, when they hear things like this, they think you're complimenting their work. In a German workplace, that's not incorrect. It's not seen as being rude. The cultural assumption in both countries are kind of the same. We both want the work to look good, but there's a verbal layer that is kind of opposite. What to do in a situation like this? If you have a feedback, you have to say it. When something is wrong, you have to say, oh, this is wrong, instead of perhaps you could consider another angle. Or when you disagree, say you disagree, and not it's interesting and all these little rigmaroles we like to do instead of saying things straight. Your German colleague will respect you more if you say things straight, actually. And this is also true in the other direction. When a German says something blunt to you, you shouldn't take it personally. Their directness is about how they work and it's not necessarily about you. Another example is for a Nigerian, when they say yes, it could mean, oh, I would try or I would see. Or it could also mean, I want to be polite to you right now. But in German, yeah means I commit to this. If you say, yes, I'll have to have it by Friday, you better have it by Friday. You need to get comfortable saying, I can't do this by Friday, or I can do it by Tuesday, instead of, yes, I will try. Germans respect a no more than a missed promise. The professional reputation of saying yes and not delivering is enormous. The cost of saying no, but here is what I can do, is roughly 0. Also, in a Nigerian workplace, junior staff differ visibly to senior staff. You greet first, you don't interrupt, you don't disagree in public. German workplaces look flat. Employees are on a first-name basis with their CEO, nothing like sir and ma, or the way Nigerians use casual titles in conversations. Here, junior staffs can openly disagree in meetings. Not like they're going to be rude, but they can, say their point without being rude in meetings. And for most Nigerians, they consider this as rude, or it's often misread as there is no hierarchy and they can do anything. But the reality is that hierarchy still exists. It's just that it's rather earned than assumed. You don't necessarily defer to someone because they are senior. You defer to them because they're competent, they're reasonable, and they've earned it. Disagreement is welcomed. Pretending to agree is, suspicious. You have to learn not to take things too personal when it has to do with feedback from a German. German feedback culture is high context. They are typically short on praise, short on apology, but long on specifics. The mistake Nigerians make is treating it like a personal attack. You have to learn to treat whatever you receive as a piece of information. When a German colleague says, this isn't working, the right response is, thank you. Can you say more about why? Not, I've worked so hard on this, I've done this, I've done this. You have to just be more direct. Now, everything we just talked about, the directness, the hierarchy, how Germans separate work life from personal life, the way feedback is given straight, none of that is something you want to learn on your first day standing in front of your manager, which is exactly why today's video is sponsored by Seefar. Seefar is a social enterprise that specializes in immigration issues. One of their current projects, called SUSTAIN, matches Nigerian STEM professionals with verified job opportunities in Germany and Ireland. It's co-founded by the European Union and contracted by ICMP, the True Migration Partnership Facility. Germany has a shortage of skilled STEM workers right now. At the same time, Nigeria has an incredible pool of STEM talent that is often underpaid and underemployed relative to what they're actually capable of. SUSTAIN was built to close this gap. For eligible candidates, SUSTAIN covers your visa fee, your flight to Germany or Ireland, temporary accommodation assistance, and language training costs, plus continued mentoring once you're on ground. And before you relocate, SUSTAIN helps you prepare for German workplace through accessible e-learning courses covering exactly what we've just been talking about: workplace communication, hierarchy, and feedback culture, plus interview coaching, CV building, and all of this to make your first weeks as seamless as possible. So now the big question is, who qualifies? You need to be a Nigerian national with no legal impediments to visa or work permit in Germany, and also be able to relocate within the next 12 months. If you're 18 to 34 years of age and early in your career, you need a relevant STEM degree, in a bachelor's or master's degree, plus 2 or more years of relevant experience. If you're a bit further along, say 35 to 43 years, you need either a doctoral degree or 5 more years of relevant work experience. Please, there's one thing you need to note though. This program doesn't target doctors and nurses right now. And for anyone coming through this video specifically, you need to have already gotten your German visa or have applied and you're waiting for an appointment. So if that's you or someone you know is already on this path, just go to the SUSTAIN website to sign up or refer them to the link in my description. One thing you have to know that is that on the form they would ask you how you heard about SUSTAIN, and it's important you tell them that you're from Adaz or from Adaz place, so that way they know you're from me. And if you rather reach out directly to me, please send me an email. My email is adazplaceitis@gmail.com. Send your CV and then I would point you in the right directions. Of course, terms and conditions do apply. Okay, back to life in Germany. So let's talk about email etiquette, because this one genuinely surprises a lot of Nigerians when they come here. So back home, we write emails the way we talk. A warm opener: I hope this email finds you well. Maybe the actual thing you're writing the email for doesn't show up until the third paragraph. It's polite, and this is how we are raised to show politeness. In Germany though, the same warmth accidentally can make you look unsure of what you're asking for. German emails follow a simpler shape. You have the formal greeting. If you're going to be writing it in German language, you have the sehr geehrte or sehr geehrter, and then next will be a sentence or two for context, and then the request is stated plainly. Close with "mit freundlichen Grüßen," or if you're writing in English, "yours sincerely," and your name. Most emails are like 5 lines, and that is completely normal here. Part of why this is practical is that emails in Germany often function as light paperwork. They get saved, referenced sometimes, and pulled up months later if there's ever a dispute about what was agreed on. So it's less about being blunt and more about having the email clear enough for anyone reading it months later to understand. And that's why a general rule of thumb is to put your actual request in the first sentence and make it as simple as possible. It's not that these phrases are wrong, they just don't carry the same weight here the way it does in Nigeria. So it's better for you to keep it very formal, except you get to know the colleague you're talking to and you feel more relaxed with them. So let's go to the next point: Feierabend. Feierabend is a word you hear a lot here. It's that moment when your workday officially ends, and in Germany it's treated as a real boundary. Once Feierabend hits, your German colleagues genuinely aren't expecting a reply from you. They're not checking their phones either, and they're just, living their lives. This is something a lot of Nigerians don't usually realize at the very beginning, because they are used to being reachable, at any time, replying at 9 p.m., doing a little inbox check before going to bed. And this usually happens out of habit or just wanting to seem responsive. Here though, it can read an opposite way. Like your day isn't well organized or you haven't quite settled into your own rhythm yet. It's not personal, it's just a different culture around time. So when you close your laptop, actually close it. Let non-urgent emails sit until morning. Nobody's expecting you to answer. And if something is truly urgent, then a phone call is usually better. Germans protect your Feierabend the same way they protect theirs. So return the favor. Try not to send emails at 8 p.m. expecting a morning reply out of someone else. If you're working late and thinking others should be working late with you, that is you overstepping your boundaries. Back home, work and life tend to flow into each other. You show up at your colleague's wedding, you know whose in-laws are being difficult, whose land cases is dragging to court, whose kids just started school, and all of that. That closeness is normal. It's actually how we show care about the people we work with. Germany runs a little differently, and it's worth knowing this going in so it doesn't, sting you later. Colleagues here can be genuinely friendly without becoming friends in the way we are used to. Eating lunch alone is completely normal. Nobody thinks twice about it. Topics like religion, family, stress, money worries, those tend to stay outside of the office. Not because people are hiding something, but because they're just not close enough to where these conversations usually happen. Except, of course, in certain situations where your team or your colleagues do have their lunch together to discuss personal things with you, then you can go with the flow. But on an average, you shouldn't expect this kind of conversations you'll have with a Nigerian colleague with your German ones. It's easy to read this as coldness, but it really isn't. It's more that friendship here works in a different timeline. They're slower to open up, but once they do open up, it tends to run deep and last. Getting to the point that a German colleague usually takes a year or two of steady, consistent contact, it doesn't usually start with the office. So a gentle adjustment for you is that you don't measure how well you're settling in by whether or not your colleague wants to grab a coffee with you after work. So keep being warm, keep being dependable, and keep being yourself. And that's actually what matters. But build your actual social life somewhere else. Join a sport club, a language exchange, a church, a community, a neighborhood group. That's genuinely where Germans build their friendships too. So let's keep work for work. Anyway, now I've walked you through 8 things you need to unlearn. Let's end with one Nigerian instinct you should absolutely keep because it's going to make you stand out here and be the best you can ever be. And that skill is improvisation. That's where Nigerians have a gift for finding a way where there's no clear path when the system hasn't quite caught up with the situation. Germans are generally built around process, which is a real strength, but it also means that they can stall a little when the process doesn't fit what is actually happening. You won't freeze there. That instinct you have already is a genuine advantage, especially in a fast-moving environment or a startup or a project work, especially in client-facing roles or in international teams. The only thing, though, is to use it thoughtfully. If a documented process already works, follow it. It's not a moment for you to freestyle. But when the process is missing or it's clearly not working, that's exactly when your instincts can be useful. Please also tell your German colleagues what you did and why. And you might see that your ability to improvise begins to look like leadership. It doesn't stop there. The warmth you bring, the resilience, that natural instinct for building relationships with people, these are things Germans genuinely admire and often feel they don't have as much of themselves. So don't think of yourself as arriving with something missing. You are arriving with a different toolkit, and most of it works exactly as it is. You're just learning where to set your few pieces down. So a quick recap of the 8 things we've covered. Punctuality here means arriving 5 minutes early, not right on the dot. Being direct isn't rude, it's actually a form of respect. Say no when you mean it. Don't use yes as a placeholder just to keep the peace. Hierarchy might feel flatter here, but the rules within it still matter, so respect them. Take feedback as information, not as an attack on you. Treat emails almost like a small contract written with the same care. Protect your Feierabend. Your social life doesn't have to live at work. Go build it somewhere else. And the one thing to hold on to is your ability to improvise, your warmth, your instincts for building relationships. If any of this made you think seriously about working in Germany yourself, Seefar the SUSTAIN program is worth a real look. It's a free route into an actual STEM job in Germany or Ireland. And I've mentioned the benefits you get by being a part of the SUSTAIN program. So the sign up link to the Sustain e-learning platforms are in the description. And if you're ready to go for it, you can send me your CV at adasplaceitis@gmail.com. And if you're earlier in the journey and still working on landing your interview in the first place, I've got a full video on exactly that, how to land a German job from Nigeria. So go watch that one next. I'll link it in the description as well. And if you've got your own German workplace story, something you wish someone had told you before you learned it the hard way, drop it in the comments. There's someone else watching this who might learn from your story. So thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I will see you in my next video.